In terms of job approval of Congress, we have a very high disapproval of Congress, 57% disapproving of Congress, only 34% approving. As much as Celinda and other Democrats would like to think this is a judgment of Republicans and what they are doing, in fact, if you look at the internal numbers, it appears to be just the opposite. Republicans, 12% approve, 82% disapprove of Congress. Democrats, 60% approve, 28% disapprove. Independent voters, much closer to the Republicans here, 21% approve, 71% disapprove. You see on the image of the two parties, the Democrats still doing slightly better than the Republicans. They're at a 1-to-1 ratio, 45% favorable, 44% unfavorable. Republicans are at 37% favorable, 49% unfavorable. Now, part of this comes from independents are equally split with both Democrats and Republicans in Congress, but you see more intensity and feelings towards the Democrats. With Republicans, you have 65% of Republicans favorable towards Republicans in Congress. You have 65% of Democrats unfavorable towards Republicans in Congress. When looking at Democrats in Congress, Republicans are 79% unfavorable of Democrats in Congress. Democrats are 80% favorable. So you have a 15% higher on both positives and negatives of the Democrats, and not as much softness in terms of those numbers. Looking at the other image ratings, you see Barack Obama, the president, with still very positive numbers from this type of a rating, 61% favorable, 36% unfavorable. Joe Biden still net plus, very much in the range of where he ended up the campaign in 2008, 48% favorable, 38% unfavorable. You see our congressional leaders, both Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, both with very unfavorable ratings. Harry Reid's at 15% favorable, 31% unfavorable. He still has 38% of the country who say they've never heard his name, not nearly as visible as the Speaker. Nancy Pelosi is at a 32% favorable, 51% unfavorable. One thing I will point out about Nancy Pelosi, I know that she said recently she doesn't care whether people like her or not, it's the job that she's doing. That job may become more complicated. Looking at conservative Democrats have a 45% favorable rating, 25% unfavorable rating, but a very large 20% know the name but no opinion, who are sitting there making a decision on whether they like her or not. That becomes a problem for the Speaker, in that with 56 Blue Dog Democrats who are having to make a lot of hard votes that run against their basic ideology on some of these key votes, particularly on spending, that they have tried to make a point on, that if in fact these conservative Democrats at the grassroots become net negative on the Speaker, that is going to make her job that much harder to convince those Blue Dog Democrats to make those hard votes. Last of all, we did ask on Sarah Palin. She is basically, again, where she ended up the campaign in 2008, 42% favorable, 47% unfavorable, and with the intensity on both ends of that being somewhat equal, 1-to-1 ratio. Next, we looked at a variety of what we call issue handling batteries. In part of the batteries, we looked at Republicans in Congress versus Democrats in Congress. The other, we looked at President Obama versus Republicans in Congress. There's no question in looking at these overall numbers that the president is still a net push when you add him into the equation of about 10 points on the issue handling. I think the question that everyone is struggling with inside the White House right now is how much exposure can you have before you start wearing down that political capital. Going through the issues, by the way, I'm going to come back and also look at each of these with independent voters, which is kind of the key swing on where they are. Kind of the good news for Republicans here is that they had moved to a point in the last election where they had a deficit, net negative, both to the Democrats, both on holding down taxes and controlling wasteful spending. They are now back. Those are advantage issues for the Republicans. 53% on holding down taxes believe Republicans would do a better job, 29% the Democrats. Promoting strong national defense is 53-33. Controlling wasteful government spending is 41-33. Sharing your values, again, something that had moved to about a 10-point deficit for Republicans, back to fairly even split, 40-42 Democrat. Defending middle-class values. This, again, will probably come much more into focus during the healthcare debate and even the cap and trade debate. 35% Republican, 48% Democrat. Turning around the economy, Democrats still have, in Congress, still have an advantage, 47-33, as they do with energy, 49-33, and reforming healthcare, 51-30. The one thing the Republicans lost, that had always been an advantage for them through the last couple of years, is being honest and trustworthy, and definitely something they have to get back. 27% believe Republicans are honest and trustworthy, 38% the Democrats, with a very large undecided out there about either. With those same measurements, Republican versus Democrats in Congress with independent voters, you see it even strengthened in terms of the Republican direction. Promoting a strong national defense, independent voters are 53-23 for the Republicans. Holding down taxes, 52-17. Defending the middle class values, 33-38 Republican. Sharing values, Republicans here with independents have an advantage, 36-33. Controlling wasteful spending, 35-22. And it's not until you get to the more traditional Democrat issues of energy and reforming health care that Democrats have a 40 and 41 point advantage over the 27% for the Republicans. Turning around the economy, Democrats with independents still have an 11-point advantage. And on being honest and trustworthy, interestingly enough, the independent voters split on that 23-23. As I mentioned before, you get a much stronger push in the president's direction when he is up solely against the Republicans. Promoting a strong national defense, Republicans still have a 51-40 advantage. Taxes, 48-36. And by the way, on taxes, Obama ended up the campaign with a 12-point advantage in holding down taxes versus John McCain. So even this is a substantial turnaround for voters. Sharing your values, a slight disadvantage for the Republicans, 43-47. Controlling wasteful spending, fairly evenly split with Republicans at 42, Obama at 40. Defending middle class values jumps from 36 Republican to 54 Democrat. Turning around the economy, 33-53. Reforming health care, 32-53 Democrat. Energy, that's the President Obama. Promoting energy independence, 30-56 to the president, and being honest and trustworthy, a 30-point advantage at this point, 25-55. These same issues tested Republicans in Congress versus President Obama with independents. The Republicans do maintain advantages on strong national defense, holding down taxes, spending at 42-25. Slight advantage on sharing your values, slight disadvantage, 36-41 on defending middle class values, reforming health care, 27-41, turning around the economy, 26-46 for the president, energy, 24-49, and being honest and trustworthy, 19-45. And again, coming down to that last issue, being honest and trustworthy, out of all the measurements, you see strong movement in the Republican direction, whether you're testing Republicans in Congress versus Democrats in Congress, or Republicans in Congress versus President Obama. The one exception to that case is being honest and trustworthy, that there is still a lot of work to be done by Republicans.